want to ask you something. On your profile, there is a point where they say you disagreed with British judges on racism. What was it all about?
Well, I have two issues. One is very much, I think, at the heart of what Kenyans want, and it is for reparations for colonialism. There were 100,000 Kipsigi and Talai people who were forcibly evicted from their land in Kericho and Bomet counties and expelled to Gwasi, to arid areas where many died of starvation, malnutrition, and disease. The lands were some of the best farmlands in Kenya, and they were taken and given to white settlers. Those lands were then given without proper title to 5 multinational companies, James Finley Tea, George Williamson, Unilever, and others, and they still hold them to this day. And if you go to Kericho, you can stand on one side of the road and see generally fairly dismal poverty. On the other side of the road, you see the rolling hills of plantations occupied by tea workers who live in abysmal conditions, which they only get, say, a fraction, possibly 2 pence per cup for the £2.70 that is charged if you go to Starbucks in London or New York. So that is one aspect. The other, which is replicated in Laikipia County, is that the Maasai were driven out in similar terms, about 50,000 to 100,000 Maasai driven out. Their grazing land was taken, and now you will find that 44 European ranchers own some 500,000 acres of Laikipia County. And there are many other examples throughout Kenya. And one of the last one, I should say this, and one of the most acute, is the appalling injustice that occurred with those who were convicted of offences under the emergency period. 1,090 Kenyans were hung by the British and are buried in unmarked graves at Committee Maximum Security Prison. Dedan Kimathi's grave has still not been exhumed and identified and given a decent burial. That chapter of history is not closed. It is still open. There has been no apology by the British government for those hangings. Dedan Kimathi, for example, was hung not for murder or terrorism. He was hung for possession of ammunition. That's all. And so what the British did, they used judicial execution committed by British judges to deny the freedom to Kenyans in one of the most vicious anti-colonial wars that Africa has seen. And those historical injustices all over Kenya must be redressed as a matter of urgency.